Well, John is messing with a microscope. John and I have had, there you go. John and I have had a debate over the last while about making balls, and the question is about turning between cones or whether to use a jam chuck. John did a really good video on doing a jam chuck, and I saw a few things about turning spheres. And my biggest difficulty is I'm an engineer and I really like to turn very precise things. So this was about not just turning a sphere, but how to turn it as precisely as possible. Yeah.
I'm going to turn the speakers off because I think your people in the room can hear you fine.
Okay, that's fine. Can the people over to, that's fine. So what I'm doing here today, some of you may be aware of Angelo Iafredi's technique of laying out a sphere and laying this into hexagonal pieces and stuff like that to get it down to this position. So I do the same thing as using Angelo's technique. I've got a bunch of these shapes and sizes to get the right diameter and all that sort of stuff. And I had one here and now it seems to have disappeared. So I'm going to go ahead without it. But for me, when I'm going to the final sphere stage, I have 3 lines that are important on the lathe. The center line and these 2 outside lines.
You got to keep your head out of your camera.
Sorry.
Yeah, good.
That's better. 3 outside lines. I'm just trying to make these lines set up. When I'm doing it between cones like this, getting this absolutely the curve absolutely perfect, like it was demonstrated by John, and I can show you a 2-inch sphere. I mean, I'm reasonably close in there, but it doesn't have to be. What I'm trying to do is perfect across that corner. Because I'm catty angle, you can see I'm pretty close on being across that angle. So, having got this far, our similarity ends. I made myself a little went to Home Depot and got myself a washer that a Teflon washer, and made it so it fits over the end of my cone here, my tailstock cone, so that I can just put that in and screw it in tight. I don't know if you can see this, or, well, you can't really see it from your perspective, but I have, and what I'm looking for right at the moment on this line is to see that these lines that I drew are now parallel when I turn the piece. Not really all that concerned about, as long as I actually do have a center line on my cone here, which I drew on both sides. You can see there to line it up so that I can go down there and make a piece. And I'm ready to go. Now, the thing that happens with these any turning is that people are talking about getting this perfect, and I'm not going to try and get this shape perfect, but I want to just highlight that the only places where this is actually is perfectly round is in parallel at this angle. Anytime I make a cut, that's the perfect roundness. Anything else I do across here with my tool is by nature not going to be perfectly round. It's going to be slightly round. So that's where I'm really trying to make my difference. If I go at it, can you see the shadow on that all right? Is it shadow? So my first step is to get this. I'll back up a statement. The other thing people concern themselves about is how much this mark will mark on the end. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what I do to make sure that mark, if there is any mark at all, is actually minimized. The actual inside of this cone, I take, and I haven't done it today, but I take my 2-inch cone and just fit it in there to make sure that the diameter on the inside of the cone is the same as the diameter of the ball. Sorry. Can you go around the other end and move it? You know how to run it. Okay, well, we get the camera adjusted. The first thing I want to point out is that I have not actually turned the shadow away completely. You'll notice it's still there ever so slightly. You can see it on the end here. You can see a few spots where I've touched down a little bit. My ball has turned a little bit, so I can actually, if I want to, I can back up, bring it back a little bit more to parallel, make sure everything's going straight. But I specifically did not turn that shadow away. The reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to sneak up on this diameter with I use a flat nose scraper. The reason for this flat nose is because there's no point, if I was to use a round nose, you can get a groove in there. So I'm always using a flat nose scraper so that I can never get a groove inside the ball shape. Go down. Go down. There. Is that better? No, you're fine. So I'm going to turn it off, just make it so I can talk a little bit easier into this. One of the mistakes I started making early on is to try and get this down as close to the inside as possible. And the answer is that doesn't work. If I'm trying to get it spherical, I don't want to get it as close as possible. What I want to do is just take a single shaving off. Now, no matter which way I turn that ball, it's got to be spherical. So now the question is, how do you get it turned? And what I do is actually turn it while the lathe is on. This gives me two things. First of all, what happens is that the ball sets into the cone really easily, and it will always center itself if you pick it up right. And what you want to do when you're doing this is, even though the lathe is on, if you actually lift it up from the bottom, you can catch the ball without actually having it vibrate off on you. So that I take this, see that? Now I can put that at any angle and dial it back in.
Doug, can you see a ghost image of that piece coming around now?
What was the question? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm wondering if you can actually still see a ghost image on that piece.
No. Well, you can maybe ever so slightly, Ron, to be honest. If you look straight down, you can still see a tiny bit of a ghost.
Yeah.
Because I'm not perfectly spherical yet, but you can feel it more than you can see it at this
It
point.
was easy to see before. Now I can't see it.
Exactly. But you can definitely feel it as you're going along, and you can see that scrape. See, I've got that one piece there where that comes across as a little bit of a bump. So I'm going to move it again. You notice one of the things I did is I only took one scrape across the surface while I was doing it at a single time, because again, it doesn't really matter if I get it perfectly round on the first cut, because every time I turn that ball a little tiny bit, it's going to get closer and closer to round. You can see where that's happened right here. I'm getting it closer and closer. By the time I'm finished on this one here, I can get down to about 5, what is it? Well, let me just, you can see I'm almost out of the pencil line there, and that was one of the pencil lines I'm drawing. Now,
Is that cup a
Call-
bowl shape or
yeah,
just a
no-
2-inch,
no,
or
it's a-
1-inch hole?
it's actually a 1-inch, 1.25-inch hole with a ball shape on the curve of the cup. So that, and the other thing is that what you need to do is really keep the scraper sharp. So let me just do this once. Keep your scraper on hand. Now, so is it really round? Well, now, no matter what you do with a grain of wood, there's always 3 dimensions you can always check out. You see the spot that I've got in the top there? That's direction 1. The grain is going straight along there. That's direction 2. And if I turn that 90 degrees, that's direction 3. So that's actually got all 3 directions for turning that you need to do. So if I'm going to go this again, I can set it up. And let's just do one more cut like this. There we go, ready for sanding. And
So that nylon piece, was that something you had to cut to fit after you picked it up?
the original nylon piece, I had another piece over here. I set it down. But it was, yeah, I had to, oh, here it is. Maybe you can see that. I had to, I trimmed it down a little bit in the slot. So the slot goes on one side, and then sort of a universal V on the other side. So that is how much you need to do to get a ball. And now the problem that was that was at 2.05 inches or 2. Yeah, it was about 2.3 there. So I've lost and come right down onto almost exactly 2 on that within a very short order. And that's really what I was trying to show, is just that, you don't have to go a lot of things. But one of the mistakes that I was making early on was trying to cut too much too quickly instead of sneaking up on it. And if you, as long as it's in there and it cuts in there, you're pretty close. Let's see. I sand it on the lathe, but I can start at that one probably about 220 or so if you want to, maybe 150 or 220. And I do the same thing when I'm sanding on the lathe. I turn it. I use the grain and then turn it 90 degrees and then turn it the other 90 degrees. So you're always getting the whole thing, and take it up to about 600. But it's pretty close to a billiard ball round.
Can you show us a close-up of a cup on the camera?
Sure. Can you get in on that end camera here? Is it this one here?
Yeah, this is.
You can switch.
It's not letting me.
That's not. Which one is it? Is it?
You just take the chuck off and hold it toward the down camera.
Yeah,
No.
Not how it does, I guess.
yeah. Hold it to the down camera.
Okay. I'll hold it to the down camera here. So this, if I take my 2-inch diameter, the ball thing is, sorry,
Right there. Yeah, I
it's,
see what, yeah. Okay.
you see, that's about 2 inches. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's got to be close.
Well, it'll mark your wall. Otherwise,
Well, the better it is, the less tap pressure, because with this lip being at the right diameter for your ball, that grips. This other piece at the bottom end here, the back piece, I use this piece here for all 3 diameter. I've made 1.5 to 2.5 inch diameter balls, and I use this piece for all 3 diameters. It doesn't have to fit as perfectly because it's small, but it's really this this cone that's actually doing the gripping around the edge there. And every once in a while every time I put this on the chuck, I just true it up a little tiny bit with my round nose scraper. And I have different sizes of chucks I made for different diameter balls if you want to. And they're fairly straightforward, but that's, that takes and as I said, that gets it round.
what department did you find the nylon pieces?
These were at Home Depot, just on the, you go into the specialty hardware section, they've got the drawers there. They're spacers, they're nylon spacers. This is, let me just the diameter is 1 inch, I think. Yeah, they're 1 inch by 3/8 with whatever in the diameter there.
Can you chuck those up somehow to cut them down?
What I did to cut them down is that 1 inch diameter. I have a set of pinhole pin chucks for this, whatever. I just put it on the pin chuck and did it that way. Or you can actually take your if you want to, on one of these, this is on a Nova chuck, but if the Nova chuck on the center here is just about the right size, you can just stick it in there. Sort of like that.
Mhm.
And then you're done. You just take a little tool until you get the right roundness on it. Sorry, get that there.
Cool, yeah.
Very simple thing.
We got any questions from you guys out there in Zoom land?
That's pretty, I can do another one, but that would take me another 5 minutes.
That nylon bushing, is that
Yeah.
for the threaded bushing that goes on the end of a faucet?
No, it was under the specialty hardware. It was a nylon spacer. It's called under the specialty hardware, not in the faucet area. But again, I don't care what you use on this bushing. The issue for me, I was just trying to find one that was the right size to fit over the end of my chuck here, or my live center on the. See, the problem with the bushing here was that it was just ever so slightly. You can see here, there. See, the nylon bushing is just ever so slightly too small. So I made it so that the cone, excuse me, I started off making it so the back cone fit over the cone of this center truck, like that. Once that got on, then doing the other side was just putting that in. So all I really did is maybe drill this a little bit deeper. So
You can test the sphericalness of the ball with the very same thing that you do
yeah,
with that, right? Because if the circle sits evenly on the sphere, then it's
well,
spherical.
my pieces are falling over there, but
We'll build a table or something for demonstrating.
there you go. I made up this template when I was making some more of these balls. I just cut them. This is 2.15, 2.13, 2.06, 2.02, 1.97. So it's every 3 to 4 hundredths. So it goes through the 2.02, doesn't go through 2.97. It's pretty close.
So there's a 20th of an inch difference there.
Yeah,
I mean, you can check the perfection of the sphere
yeah.
by putting that your plastic spacer on it, and if there's any gap between your plastic spacer and the sphere, you'll know where it's imperfect.
Well, actually,
That's your mic.
Well, hello there.
well, I actually don't do it that way. You can actually feel it when you're in the lathe itself. You can actually feel any spot there. So as soon as you turn it, and as long as you're keeping turning it, but the thing that happens is that in the initial turnings, you can feel every single bump, but as you're getting closer and closer, each one of the turnings is now like a very, very light shaving, and it goes spherical almost immediately. So you don't have to worry. But that's one of the other reasons that I use this flat thing, is because you can go around and follow the sphere with your finger as you're going, and just see whether, because on the last cuts, it's not taking off any at all the way around. All it's doing is taking the bumps off again. And that's just, it's just taking off the high spots.
Is your paper actually a skew that you ground?
Um,
Appears to be ground on both faces.
it's yes. Well, it was a blunt nose scraper, and I was trying to do it differently, and I just decided to remake it, and it was a straight line skew. So I just said, okay, I'm turning it into a scraper.
Okay.
So let me put it this way. It was a scraper, I made it into a skew, and then I turned it back into a scraper. How's that?
And now it's a negative rate, right?
Yeah, it's a negative rate, yeah. If you can see that, I don't know if you can see that very. You hold it, I'll just do that.
I guess my point is it does have an up face and a down face.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It definitely does, an up face and a down face.
Live mic for the interim, so-
So, is there any other, so anyway, and I did try using my round nose scraper, and the problem I had, as I said before, I've got it here, but the round nose scraper, I was just cutting grooves in it every time. So it really made a big difference to have a straight nose scraper on that instead of a round nose scraper. And the other part was that using the fingernail gouge, I've got several sizes, but using the fingernail gouge made a big difference. And that was just getting the shadow away initially. So.
Any other questions from anyone in the room or anyone at home?
Oh. I'll still debate with John about which is the best technique, but
Well,
you're getting spears that are actually round. I don't get them round.
Oh.
I just get it in the neighborhood.
Oh. These are, yeah, I'd like to think they're pretty close to billiard ball. I think I measured it and I got, what did you say was point, I got it 0.01, 0.05, shall we say, within the 2 inches. So as far as getting them absolutely spherical. I made with the pyramids, the spinning pyramids. The way I was really telling the reason I was doing this is I wanted to get them as close to size as possible. And the closer, the test is that the closer that you get the 4 spheres to size, the same size, and the more spherical they are, the longer the pyramid will spin. So it was just a self test. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
That was quick.
All right. Are there any announcements or anything from anyone at home, or does anyone have any other announcements for the club? Questions?
Is there some consensus for the November charity?
We're going to postpone the November charity, just because with having the new space here and trying to get set up, we want to make sure we do the charity justice. So we want to be able to make sure, there's enough time to participate and we get our act together. But with everything we're doing here, we want to make, we want to get things squared away here first before we delve into a charity challenge. So we're going to postpone that one for this year. We're not sure what the new November challenge will be, but we'll keep everyone posted. And Ben, who do we have for next month for our club demo? Scott Royer.
Yeah.
And does he have a topic?
No, he'll get back to me what he's doing, but I don't know.
Okay.
I think.
Great.
I'll get back to you.
Okay. And just as a reminder, the Sunday the 18th is going to be our watch party for the virtual symposium, starting here at 11:30. And we'll have snacks and refreshments, but you're welcome to bring your own and or snacks to share. And next month's challenge is Thin Skin. It's another theme challenge that you can interpret any way you want to. Our next club meeting will be the first Tuesday in August.
And we're back, coffee hours back on every 2 weeks. And there's coffee hour on Thursday this week at 10 a.m.
Great.
And I'll send an announcement out tomorrow.